Hi everyone, back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. And as the weather has turned from sun to rain, it looks very much like the constant gardener, Dan Ashworth, is putting down his trowel and his clippers and he's going back to work. That's right. You've seen the news doing the rounds. The saga of Dan Ashworth on gardening leave is officially over. The little snake is going to slither through the grass down to Old Trafford and start his job for Sir Jim Twatcliffe at Manchester United. And I, for one, are quite glad that this whole thing's over with, really, because it was just getting a bit boring, really, to be honest with you. Manchester United simply weren't going to pay the going rate to release a guy that they wanted from his contract, and it rumbled on. So Jim Twatcliffe tried to bully the situation by getting Newcastle to cave a little bit earlier. Newcastle took the heels in, and it wasn't going to happen. Now, it is quite interesting that this has happened just before the PSR deadline. There's that word again. Jesus, can we park this thing for another year? Everyone's sick to the back teeth of it. Thanks, Masters and the bastards, for this horrendous piece of legislation that you put into the football. It makes us talk about money instead of football. It's exactly what you and your cretinous mates wanted. But there's no surprise in Newcastle and Manchester United have done a deal just before that deadline so they can declare it in this year's figures. Now, what is hilarious about this whole situation, and all these Manchester United fans that go, no, we don't want a rivalry with Newcastle. They make it up themselves, but yet they jump on every single video, like mine and Toon Reviews and True Face and everybody else's, and slag off Newcastle United in the comments. So if you don't want a rivalry, stop doing that, guys, to be fair. But what is hilarious here is absolutely chef's kiss is Toon Polls, who normally is hijacking every single football poll going to turn it into the favour of Newcastle United, like he's Alan Rickman in Die Hard with his team full of poll terrorists. He's taken a little break from that, and he's decided to take up the mantle of the famous wind-up merchant, Frank Chipper, where he franks everybody and he makes up complete bullshit stories through numerous different accounts. I don't know how the fuck the guy keeps up with it, to be honest with you. It's hard enough doing content like this, let alone doing stuff like that. So big credit to Frank Chipper for being so creative, I suppose. But Toon Polls has absolutely hosed and fished and hooked the Manchester United fan base right by the cheek here, because somebody in the Sun decided to publish a story that Manchester United managed to get Dan Ashworth for as little as £2.5 million. Now, any Manchester United fan listening, wherever you are, probably not Manchester, who's probably typing in a furious comment right now, stop for a second, put your fingers down and listen. It's a wind-up. He's having a laugh with you. He's taking the piss. This journalist has spotted it and went, oh, there's a credible source, Toon Polls. He's got loads of followers. He's bigger than the Newcastle fan base. Boof. And he's just clicked sent an article out, and you lot are jumping on it like it's Christmas Day and you've just got that BMX that you always wanted, or that fucking PS5, to bring it up to modern terms as well. You can tell I'm fucking old. I have got a PS5, by the way, just to let you know. But yeah, so these Manchester United fans all over TikTok, all over social media, lapping this up. Newcastle, we got you. You wanted 20 million, and we only give you 2.5. You've been completely and utterly done by Toon Polls. So take a bow, my friend. Absolutely superb work by Toon Polls. What a legend. But going back to the situation in general, you haven't got him for £2.5 million. The clubs have both said they're keeping the fee confidential. Mainly that's because Newcastle probably don't want to look like they've came down, and Manchester United don't look like they've overpaid. So they've reached a kind of compromise to keep it all confidential. Newcastle United released a very, very, very short statement on this and basically said, Dan's off. We're keeping the fee confidential. We're wishing the best of luck. See you later, Dan. And off you fuck, more or less. Is that what I read between the lines? And that didn't read the Manchester United one. Can't be asked. But a lot of Manchester United content creators haven't led with this £2.5 million figure. They think it's around about 10 million quid. I personally think it's probably around about 12. As a compromise in the middle. And I think that's good. I think not just for Newcastle, but it's good for football as well, because Sir Jim Twatcliffe, we've done a few videos about this string of piss, Mr. Burns-esque wanker that he is, coming out and basically trying to bully the world of football to bend over and take it from him. And that's just not going to happen. He's been in the Premier League for 5 minutes. He's obviously had Nice for a while, but he seems to think that he can walk into a room and go, you over there, yes, you, the blonde, with me now, and walk away with somebody's wife. That's not how it happens, you fucking dickhead. That's not how the world works. Just because you're wealthy and successful in your own little world, and credit to you for it, you can't just come in the Premier League and start bullying people into making decisions that A, financially isn't applicable or sustainable for them, and B, they just don't want to fucking do. So have some of that, Sir Jim Twatcliffe. Maybe you've learned a lesson. I doubt it, because he's got no humility whatsoever, because he's a fucking bell end. But going back to the whole situation, I think this has damaged Newcastle a little bit with Dan Ashworth being on garden leave. Now, listen, I don't think Dan Ashworth, is some kind of savior that we all thought he was when he first came in. He carries a lot of this credence from his time in England, really, and how England have transformed from, the England that got done against Iceland to the New England who have kind of turned back into the England who will get done against Iceland. So make of that what you will. But anyway, he gets a lot of his credence from that. He wasn't really a successful football player, wasn't a successful football manager. It's not like Les Ferdinand went to QPR as a sporting director who had a great career. One of the all-time kind of Premier League goal scorers. He's in that list. He had England career, all that kind of stuff. You can understand why Les Ferdinand kind of gets that credence because of his playing career, and then he's done a really good job as a sporting director. Dan Ashworth has really made his name off the back of that England thing. I didn't see anything great that he did here, to be brutally honest with you. You can maybe say, did he play a part in buying Yakuba Minter for 6 million and we flogged him for 33? If that's the case, then to be fair, you got to give the lad credit for that. But outside of showing Anthony Gordon around in a polo neck shirt, and showing the video in the canteen, I didn't really know what Dan Ashworth did. He came out in Sky and flapped his gums a little bit, but they all bigged him up because they thought he was amazing. Mainly because Gary Neville probably knew that he wanted a Manchester United job, so he just talking him up potentially. But going back to Dan Ashworth as a character, now Manchester United fans, hear my words here. You need to be very, very careful about this. And Brighton fans, if you're in the comments, you will back me up. Dan Ashworth only looks after Dan Ashworth. So you may think he's the saviour now, and you'll be loading him up and you'll be giving Newcastle fans shit like me. You've probably already done it in the comments below as well. But make no mistake about it. If Dan Ashworth thinks he can get a better opportunity than Manchester United, he will fuck right off, and he will leave you lot with a bad taste in your mouth, like he did with Brighton and like he's done with us, because that seems to be his kind of mandate, really, that he's just going to look after himself, make as much money as he can. Part of me says, okay, fair enough, all of our careers, you've got to go, where the money is. If somebody said to you, whatever you do, if you're a taxi driver or if you're a plumber or if you're an accountant or whatever, or a sales manager like me, if you do that for a living and someone offers you 2-3 times your salary, you probably are going to have your head turned a little bit. But the problem I have with Dan Ashworth was it looked like he was seemingly looking to get out of the Newcastle job even before he started in the Newcastle job. So I don't quite know what his thinking is there. And that, to me, that would question him as a candidate for a job in the future. If Real Madrid come calling in 6 months' time, he'll probably do the same thing at Manchester United as he's done to Brighton and to Newcastle. But I say good riddance to the bloke. We need to bring a new sporting director. I don't like the way this PSR thing's been communicated behind the scenes. I think it shows a real naivety and a lack of football understanding in the board level. Whatever Dan Ashworth did or didn't do, if he had a football understanding, then that's something that we are lacking, because I don't think Eales has it. I think he's a good commercial guy. Silverson's a good commercial guy. Obviously, Amanda and Merdad, again, good commercial people, but not football people. So the whole thing about PSR, the Anthony Gordon thing, looks like it's probably caused more damage than it should have done. And we need to get somebody to get a grip of that. So hopefully now Newcastle can get a new sporting director and we can put this little weasel in the past where he belongs. He's Manchester United now. Go to that dumpster fire, mate. You enjoy that. Manchester United have been shit for the past 2 seasons, and getting Dan Ashworth in ain't going to change a great deal. They've got to do a lot in the transfer market. If they keep lowballing players, they're not going to get the players that they want to get. They'll have to get players that maybe are the second, third, fourth choice. But lower pressure's on Ten Hag. This is the same guy that Sir Jim Twatcliffe wanted to get rid of. If I was Ten Hag, I'd had a bit more about us, and I would have told him to fucking shove his job, and I would have quit and went about Ajax or something like that. But Ten Hag will be on shaky ground if Manchester United have the same season next season as they've had the last couple of seasons, regardless of how much they've spent. They've spent billions in the transfer market over the last 6 years or whatever, and still not reach for that brass ring that they want to get. So Dan Ashworth ain't going to change that, guys. But from a Newcastle point of view, he's gone. Let's stop talking about him, guys. This will be the last video we do on the little shit house, and he's more than welcome to just go and take the piss out of Man U and leave them in 6 months for Real Madrid if he wants to. But that's what I've got to say about that, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Dan Ashworth leaving the garden. Do you think it's going to affect us or not? Do you think it has affected us since he's been on leave? We always like to hear from you. Smash a comment in. And who do you think the next sporting director is going to be? You got any ideas? Drop us a name in there as well. We'll always engage with you. We don't ignore you like other channels do. If you take the time to put a comment in, we'll take the time to reply to you. Unless it's below the belt, like you sad little Man United fans who have got nothing better to do than just try and dig out Newcastle fans and then claim you don't want a rivalry. So you won't get any airtime off us, guys. So feel free to post if you want. You just won't get a response. So have a great day, everybody. Subscribe. Help get us over that 8K mark. I think we're really, really close, to be fair. So hopefully we'll be over by the time I've even done this video and it's out there. So thank you very much. If we are, we will definitely say thank you on the next video as well. Have a great day wherever you are, everybody. We'll see you later. Cheers.